episode of the Niger Landlord Show here on VOP 90.3 FM. I'm super excited to be with you all. And my name is Amara Onsrike. As we all know, the Niger Landlord Show is your one-stop real estate investment platform. We bring you all the news updates, trending information, as well as the pros and cons of investing in the Nigerian real estate market. On the show, we show you how to make real estate work for you. Yes, and you are listening to VOP Voice of the People 90.3 FM, and like I said, today is going to be a very exciting episode. I'm super excited. I know that there's so much value that we're going to learn from today, and yeah, as usual, I'm looking forward to hearing from you and also engaging with you on your questions, your contributions, and your feedback. I mean, you've been phenomenal on the past episodes, and I'm really thankful for all of your feedback. Right? So today we'll be talking on another exciting real estate investment topic. Yes. When I come back, I'm going to be talking about that topic. So you stay tuned. I'll be right back. Let's go on a short break. Okay, welcome back to the Niger Landlord Show here on VOP 90.3 FM. And yes, if you're just joining us today, we're going to be talking about making housing affordable, looking at solutions in this industry, and the opportunities, the trends, the challenges that we face in this industry. All right, so like I said, we'll be taking worldwide. It's not just about having a roof over one's head, but also about social stability and economic development and quality of life. Government and private sector must work together to create sustainable solutions. And so this is where we look at what has the government done recently. And first approach that I'm going to be looking at is the initiatives that the government has churned out recently. We look at the housing budgets. The budget for the 2025 housing was budgeted at 88 million for the housing, and the budget plays a pivotal role in shaping the trajectory of national development. And we look at addressing critical infrastructural needs, enhancing living condition, and also, providing affordable accommodation for individuals and families. So the budget reflects government's priorities and its commitment to sustainable growth. We all agree that housing has been a major challenge, and it's not just about individuals or private organizations now looking at providing housing. Government has to play a major role in providing affordable housing. And we look at, for the 2025, the housing ministry has presented a comprehensive budget that emphasizes capital expenditure in key sectors, aiming to address housing deficits, promote economic development, and improve community welfare. So today, this topic, we're going to look at the details of the budget allocation, and we'll look at the implication and the potential impacts on communities across the country. Right? Look at the potential impacts on the communities across the country, and what does this mean for you? What does this mean for you as an investor, someone who is looking to come into the market, who is looking to get affordable housing for yourself, for your family, right? Okay, so the country, looking at the news, we saw that the hope for improved housing supply in Nigeria may remain unfulfilled as the 2025 fiscal budget allocation for the sector falls far short of addressing the nation's massive housing deficit. Despite the country's record high 49.74 trillion budget, experts say the allocation for housing remains grossly inadequate. The country needs to construct 550,000 housing units annually over the next decade to close its estimated 22 million housing deficit, requiring approximately 5.5 trillion annually. However, the federal government and private sector collectively deliver only 50,000 units annually. For 2025, the Ministry of Housing and Urban Development received 98.13 billion, with just 88.14 billion earmarked for capital projects, including the construction of 20,000 housing units under the Renewed Hope Agenda housing scheme. Right? So the government, the Ministry of Housing and Urban Development received 98.18 billion, and just 88.14 billion was earmarked for capital projects, and this includes the construction of 20,000 housing units. And we look at the news and we're saying that we need about 50,000 units collectively. We need about, the private sector has delivered collectively 50,000 units, but we need much more than that, right? We have an estimated 22 million housing deficit, which requires approximately 5.5 trillion annually, right? So now, looking at just delivering just 20,000 housing units, what does this mean for the future of the affordable housing in the country? And then we see some of the initiatives that the government has implemented, has churned out over the recent years. Look at the Renewed Hope Agenda and budget shortfalls. The Renewed Hope Agenda project, which began by the building of 13,612 housing units across 12 states, aims to add about 6,388 more units in 2025 to reach its 20,000 unit goal. And so some of the states benefiting from these projects include Yobe, Gombe, Nasarawa, Benue, Sokoto, Katsina, Abia, Ebonyi, Delta, and Akwa Ibom. Now, larger urban projects such as Renewed Hope Cities are also being developed in Lagos, Kano, and Abuja, with additional plans for Enugu, Borno, Rivers, and Nasarawa. So this is some of the initiatives and the construction plans that government has churned out across the states. Now, while the 2025 budget allocation appears significant, it marks a reduction from the previous year's capital allocation of 96.99 billion. Experts are concerned that such limited funding is insufficient, particularly as housing construction costs continue to rise. So the Ministry of Housing and Urban Development, Honorable Ahmed Dangiwa, has previously advocated for an annual housing budget of 500 billion naira, stating that the current 50 billion yearly allocation is inadequate and compared to the 5.5 trillion needed to address the housing crisis. His appeal was not, however, reflected in the final budget. So now this calls for a lot of concern in the housing industry, and there's a need for the collaboration, not just with the government but with the private sectors, for the industry experts, stakeholders, and players in the market coming together to tackle this major issue, because we have a large deficit, and if this is not being collectively tackled and being a major goal to handle the crisis, there might be a lot of shortfall in the future. The budget already is showing that we might not be able to deliver the required number that we need to be able to control the crisis that we're having, and that's this crisis we have seen that is we see that it's extends. There are a lot of implications. There are a lot of consequences of this crisis. We see such implications in the areas of high demand for houses, the hike in rents, and the increase in people migrating to urban cities looking for accommodation. All of this reflect, and also at the end of the day, it comes down to affecting the everyday Nigerian, because housing is such an important factor, and if it's not made readily affordable and available, it becomes a concern, becomes a major impact, a major effect on the citizens, and it will trickle down to a lot of other areas, right? All right, so I will open the phone line, and I want to hear your questions or your contributions. What do you think the government can do to tackle this major housing deficits that we're facing? And as an individual, what are your challenges in your own location concerning getting affordable housing? I'd like to hear your thoughts. I'll go on a short break. When I come back, we'll dive more into this topic. Please stay tuned. I'll be right back.
Real estate market insight and industry trends. Join Amara on the Naija Landlord Show, where we show you how to make real estate work for you. For different investments, strategies from real estate experts on Naija Real Estates. Elevate your financial education and investment in Nigeria. So tune in every Saturday on VOP 90.3 from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. The Naija Landlord Show, the voice of real estate. A stakeholder in the industry. Okay, so I also have a colleague who is joining me to talk about this topic, Oluchukwu Francis. He's a tech expert and someone who is also very passionate about the Nigerian real estate industry. And yes, so we're going to just have share collective topic and thoughts and solutions that we can think that this should be of great
having me. It's a pleasure guest appearing on your show this morning.
Thank you. All right, so making housing affordable. Now, what would you think? I mean, looking at the government initiatives, looking at the private sector partnerships, and looking at the budget that was allocated in year 2025, how do you think that we can tackle this housing crisis, affordable housing crisis, and we'll make housing affordable for everyday Nigeria?
Where's the supply?
Yeah.
We're looking at investors coming into the sector, but the population keeps rising and is affecting it. So, but if we look at the, let's take for example the breakdown. Comprehensive breakdown of affordable housing solutions for Nigerians, particularly in Lagos. First, we need to understand that there is a housing problem.
Yeah.
Okay. And before you talk about, so we say there is a housing problem. So let's look at Lagos now. The population, housing with thousands moving from the east, from the north, every day to Lagos. Even foreigners are coming to
Yeah.
Lagos. So the high cost of land and construction.
Yeah.
All these things are the things that we'll look at that are affecting this affordable housing, urban slums, informal settlements due to lack and proper housing, unregulated rental market. So let's just go with this first, then we will now.
Yeah. So yeah, this is, so you listed this challenges. These are pressing issues
Yes.
in the housing market,
Yes.
and this has been the reason why the government has been tackling the housing market with providing a lot of funding initiatives that they have been putting in place.
Yeah.
But we have challenges in the housing policy implementation. That's, I think, that's the major challenge we face from the area of the government. We have a lot of the challenges in implementing some of these initiatives that they have churned out over the year. We see, okay, now the year 2025, 88 billion has been, allocated for the housing, and then we have the government looking at President Tinubu renewed agenda, whereby he's looking at providing 20,000 housing units across the state.
Yeah.
Now, how can the government right now tackle this challenge in housing policy implementation? When you ask the everyday Nigerian now, they say, okay, the government has brought out a lot of initiatives and housing units to tackle the affordable housing, but they do not have access to these units.
True.
They don't have access to them. And then we see that these projects, they kick off, and some of them do not even get to the completion stage, right?
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on this?
Well, thank you very much. Very good question. So one of the things I know that the way out, we're looking, we are discussing about the way out now. We know that there are issues already. So what are the way out? So on this key policy that you just spoke about. So the key policy implementation solutions that I feel that we need to look at is streamlining land ownership and approval processes.
Yeah.
We need to do that. We need to streamline the process of land ownership and the approval. Now, how can this thing be done? Okay, I'm a tech expert.
Yeah.
So this is my core field. But still yet, I reside in Lagos. So we understand the challenges of accommodations, land ownership, and all those things. So I would say digitalize land registry for transparency.
Yeah.
We need to digitalize it. Some countries have adopted blockchain for that. So what is holding Nigeria? Lagos in particular, has the largest tech hub. Largest tech hub is in Lagos, not just in Nigeria, in the whole of Africa. Lagos State has the largest tech hub. So we need to digitalize land registry transparency. We need to adopt tech. We need to go in, use blockchain. Okay, some Caribbean countries they are doing that. We need to do even Ghana. Ghana did it. Nigeria should do that. Okay, we need to introduce one-stop shops for building permits.
Exactly.
We need that. So if you look, we need to also fast-track land tilting to reduce cost and fraud.
Exactly.
You are an expert in this field, real estate. You know that the thing that most people are scared of is this fraud. So we need to be able to fast track that land tilting to reduce it, to reduce the cost. The costs, some people are complaining about high costs, not just only high costs, and they somehow fall into fraud. So if you look at these policies, how we need to go about it, the implementation, some of these steps, create and dedicated housing implementation task force.
Yeah.
They need to do that. The government have very good plan on paper, but that implementation has to be done. So how they do that, they need to have independent on politics. They have to become independent on politics. Housing has nothing to do with politics. They need to take politics out of that. So they need to be independent of politics, focused on delivering affordable housing. So
Yeah.
I think these are some of my thoughts that if they can look into it, then we'll now start to talk about what next to do, because it's solution we are looking at for solutions.
Yeah, great points here you mentioned. I think the problem that we have even in the governments getting these units that they have even put out to the right persons that need them is because there's lack of data.
Yes.
Right? So now they do not have the record, they do not have the data of people who are the ones that need this housing, this affordable housing. You see, these units are being constructed, and before they are even completed, they are off the market. Who are the people that are getting these units when the major average Nigerian out there does not have access to this affordable housing, right? And so there's a large gap in the government's connecting to the individuals that need these houses the most. So there's no data, there's no record, and like you said, creating that data, making it also very easy for those who want to even purchase their land, making it very easy to have access to proper documentation would even ease the burden and make people more even open to buying properties, buying the land and building for themselves. So great points that you have said. I'm going to open the phone lines for our callers, our listeners that might have questions and to call. So the number to call is 0700 903 903 903. 0700 903 903 903. If you have any question, let's hear your thoughts. Please give us a call, or you can also send us a WhatsApp chat on 081 717 56338. 081 717 56338. Yes, we are waiting to hear from you what you think. All right. Okay, so now looking at the news, stakeholders have highlighted poor implementation and lack of transparency as persistent challenges. Okay, a past Dr. Garba Omogadu, a past chairman of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, NSE, criticized the government's inconsistent housing policies and budget execution, noting that only 40% of the 2024 capital allocation was implemented. He called for mechanisms to ensure housing projects reach those who genuinely need them. So, and others also emphasized the importance of reducing the cost of housing construction through measures such as tax relief for local building material suppliers and reviving the mortgage subsector. Olujide Oke, a past chairman of the Nigeria Institute of Quantity Surveyors, recommended the establishment of a dedicated construction bank with a 250 billion seed fund to support the housing industry. Now, these are some of solutions that past stakeholders in the industry have talked about. Even they listed the government's inconsistency in housing policy and the budget execution, and noting that only 40%, about 40% of the 2024 capital allocation was implemented. Right. So you see now that there's a huge gap. Right. We have these budgets being allocated, but not even properly implemented. And then we see a lot of also places that the government could have brought in some reliefs in the process of tax breaks to construction, for construction materials, tax breaks for developers, make it much easier for people in the industry to come in and partake in the market. So what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I think what they said is on track. It's much on track. So my take is to add to what the suggestions they have made, we need to make housing budget performance. We need to make housing budget performance based on KPIs that we have laid out. One, solution. We need to tie housing budget release to clear deliverables. We need to do that. We must tie it to clear deliverables. For example, aging X number of affordable units completed equals to next trench release. So we need to use quarterly targets to track progress, budget and project progress. Okay, these things are basics of project management, so we need to do that. Aside that, strengthen legislative oversight,
Right.
empower the National Assembly or the State Assembly to audit and publicly review housing budget performance. It has to
Very
be
true.
done. Yes,
Very
it has
true.
to be done, because it's like someone somewhere is not checkmating anything. People just do what they want to do each year. Like I said at the inception, we have good policies that are written on paper, but we need to start to enforce them, empower the National Assembly and the State Assembly
Exactly.
to audit these things. We need to do that. Then require quarterly housing budget accountability reports. They need to provide accountability reports. You understand? If it is quarterly, if it is biannually, we need to get it so that we can know what the housing ministries and the agencies are doing.
Exactly. We need to hold them accountable.
We need to hold them
So
accountable.
what have you done
Okay?
over
We need
the
to,
last
seriously.
quarter? You know.
And then whether medium to long term adoption, the government need to do that. Maybe 5 to 10 years. Move away from year to year funding of housing programs, which breeds inconsistency. Every year you hear one thing. Every year,
Exactly.
Have-
A new initiative.
Thank you.
What has the past initiative? What have they done so
what
far?
have we done?
Yeah.
5
what
to
impact?
Thank you. We need to move beyond that one every year. So, and implement a rolling budget plan that covers multiple years.
Exactly.
People don't. I know where I stay. I didn't just move in there yesterday. I didn't move in there last year. I didn't move in there 2 years ago. People don't just move or hop from one place to another like antelopes.
Right.
They go to a place, they stay there for a number of years, maybe 5, 10 years. So the budget and the policies need to follow suit, so that people can have a sense of belonging, that when they come into a particular area, they know that yes, they are going to be there for
the long term.
It's a long term. So I think this is what they need to be doing. I know that they have good intentions, but just like as we said, that legislative oversight need to be adopted, where the state and the National Assembly must audit all this policy and housing budget performance. It has to be done.
Thank you, Oluchukwu. You've spoken so well. I mean, this is something critical that like you mentioned, that the government must look at. Okay, so we're going on a short break. When we come back, we'll talk more on this topic. Please stay tuned. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to the Niger Landlord Show here on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. Yeah, I hope you've been, enjoying today's episode. We've been talking so far on making housing affordable, government initiatives and private sector partnerships, and have a dear colleague and friend who has, shared so much insightful points on this topic, Oluchukwu Francis. Thank you so much. Good to have you back on the show.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay, so the phone lines are still open. I want to hear from you. 0700 903 903 903 0700 903 903 903. So call us. Let's hear your thoughts, and let's talk about this this issue that we have and how we can move and get good solutions in tackling this problem. Okay, so now let's look at the private sector, right? We're talking about government initiatives and private sector partnerships. What would you think that the private sector.
Private sector has a huge role to play in solving Nigerians' housing crisis. We know that, especially in Lagos. Okay.
Yeah.
Government alone cannot meet the massive housing deficit. Let's look at, on my own opinion, partner with the government. The private sector needs to partner with the government through public-private partnership. We all know that PPP.
Yes.
PPPs. So what can they do? Co-develop affordable housing estates on government-owned land. Okay.
Yeah.
We have these issues where you hear someone will buy a land, maybe after some months or whatever, you find out that all the papers that they got from the same government, some or if not all, will be said to be invalid, and government will want to reclaim that land back. So now, if government can partner with the private sectors on their own land, so that the private sectors will develop it on a partnership. Okay, so the government incentive, they need to have incentive. Government can offer tax holidays, land at discounted rates, and fast track approvals. So these things can help. For example, developers build homes and get returns through agreed rent to own schemes.
Good.
So if they do that, people want to invest because they want to make money back. Okay. Just like what government do, they do this BOT, build, operate, and transfer that they do for roads. They can also adopt or modify it for the affordable housing. Okay. So aside that, develop low-cost housing estates using alternative construction materials. Now, and luxury.
Yeah, very true.
Volume and scale. How many persons have? We know the economical situation of the current Nigerians now. So how many persons can do that high-end luxuries? So they should focus on volume. Okay.
Right.
A lot of people are looking for where to lay their heads. They should do that. So profitable long-term rent income or returns through micro mortgage models.
Long-term rent income. But when you look at that long-term rent income, some of these developers, they're businessmen, right?
Yeah.
They're looking at how they can maximize profits at the same time. And then when you're looking at that long-term rent income, it means that their money is tied down.
True.
Yeah,
that's why I said this is the last point that was I just shared.
Yeah.
Okay. They need to understand the system. They need to sit with the private investors. It must be an agreement, one-on-one agreement. Okay, so that they will know. Any person that is coming to invest wants to know how they are going to make their money back. When will they make their money back? Okay,
right.
Will the policies tie it down? Because one of the challenges we have, once a government goes, another government enters, things changes.
Exactly.
Your money has been tied down. So we need to make that policy that it doesn't matter. That's why we said earlier, whether it's 5-10 years.
Yeah.
So that it remains. Now is even in crypto. You understand? It's what is called staking. You put the money there, you stake it. Even in conventional banking, there's what is called fixed deposit. You deposit it there. So the investors, they know that they are coming to invest. If it is 5 years or 10 years, they know that. Right. So they are not going to be in a hurry. But once they know that these policies are clearly stated and written down, backed by law, they will invest.
Right. So they need to be, there should be a timeline, there should be a framework.
Yeah.
That this is how your money is going to come back to you.
Yes.
And this is, the timeline in which you get back your funds.
Thank you.
And yes, well said, Oluchukwu. And also, look, we also must highlight the part where the government even provides tax breaks and some benefits for these people to encourage the private sector, to encourage the developers, and
True.
in putting in their money in the industry.
Yeah.
All right, so we've shared so much. Our time is up already, and it's been such an insightful episode. Thank you so much for all the thoughts and points that you shared. It's been wonderful. Thank you. I really appreciate you being here. All right, so that's all we have for you today. I'll be back same time next week with another very insightful topic. Making your real estate journey very smooth, very easy, making you make the right decision in securing a profitable real estate portfolio. That's what we do here on the show. My name is Amara Onzurike. You can send me a direct message, with your feedback and your questions on anything real estate at 08064637377, 08064637377, a WhatsApp chat, and I would be glad to respond to your questions. All right, so that's it for today. Till come your way same time next week. Do have a blessed weekend. Stay rich and stay free. Bye.